The pride, passion, and pageantry of college football lives here. This is the Paul Finebaum Show, Hour 3 podcast.
This might be college football heaven.
Yeah, we're back. Your second half of the program. Chatted earlier in the show about this. Alabama-Auburn, biggest game of the year. We'll talk to Nate Oates a little bit later on. Look at this. Hard to find better stats. This game is at 3 o'clock in Tuscaloosa tomorrow. That is local time, 4 Eastern. Not the only 1 versus 2 matchup. How about this on 9 o'clock on ESPN2? Oklahoma and LSU, 1 versus 2. Defending champs are LSU. The SEC has 105 athletes invited to the combine. Who said the SEC is down? So my question, everybody's talking about the Iron Bowl. Hey, tomorrow you'll hear about the football game all day long. So I asked a question, and I'll answer it very quickly. You don't have to worry about it. Have we ever had anything quite like this in the biggest college football game, really, of all time when it comes to in-state rivals? What's the best Iron Bowl we've ever had? I'm going to tell you right now. Almost had a 1 versus 2, but have not. The only times Alabama-Auburn has featured 2 top 5 teams, 1971, Alabama was number 3, and Auburn was number 5. Why that was significant, because the winner of that game would ultimately play for the national championship in the Orange Bowl. They would play the winner of a 1 versus 2 game the very same weekend between Oklahoma and Nebraska, one of the most famous games of all time. And there is all this conversation about what a massive upset the Kick 6 game was. Shocking. It really wasn't that shocking. The end was shocking, but that was a 1 versus 4 game. That was, in many ways, the highest rated in terms of, that was the highest rated in terms of ranking game that was ever. I remember being down there, and it was almost, you were having to try to convince people that this really is a big game because everybody, including myself, assumed Alabama would win. So that was 1 versus 4. Of course, Alabama won that game. Auburn won that game 34-28. There have been a lot of other top 10 matchups in that rivalry, but not quite that. So let's get back to the calls here and more of your phone calls. And Billy D is up next. Hello, Billy.
Hey, Paul. How are you doing today?
We are doing great. Thank you.
All right. Super, man. So I hear that you got a new crib in Birmingham, Alabama.
I read
big,
that,
huh?
yes.
All right. Fantastic. So the next step, I'm hoping, is you running for governor.
I've had a few people mention that, and I'm always one of these people. I've never really wanted to be a public official, but I'm also a big believer, though, Billy, in giving the public what it wants. I think this show is indicative of that. So if enough people demand it, then I will consider it. But I am not going to just arrogantly stand up and say I am going to do this or that. So if the public says we need you, then I'll just have to do whatever you want.
If the voters speak,
right now, the public is entirely surrounding around one person, you.
That's fantastic. Yeah, so, all right, and I was asking Randy, I didn't know if, like, you were going to go to Birmingham and bring, like, the crew and then set up, like, shop like everybody else does, like Paul Rogan and all them, you know. You got plenty of room. What do you think?
As some of you may know, I don't work for myself. I do work for this big company, so I will ultimately do what they want me to do. They may want me to leave, but that would clear the way for the governorship, though. I may need a job.
There you go, and you'd fall right on in, dude. I think you'd be running against Coach, and I think it'd be a really close call.
No, I won't run against. Listen. I'm only running if there's no other sports personality in the race.
Well, hey, man, look, if you decide, man, you get a whim, you got my vote, man.
So Billy D, my question to you is this. Since I really don't want the job, I need to have a slogan. I need to be I need to run on some campaign issue. What's your biggest issue in Alabama? And I'll see if I can fix it.
Corruption.
Oh, well then, listen, we got corruption covered. Do you have any, by the way, do you have any idea what the governor pays if I'm going to?
Oh, it'd be a cut.
Well, I will not take a. How about this? Will it help get your vote if I say I won't take a salary?
Hey, dude, the mayor, the guy that's running for Mobile mayor now, or is about to run for Mobile mayor because Simpson ain't going to do it anything. He's running on that. Like,
okay. Yeah, I will. That's my first campaign slogan. I will not take a salary, but I will take kickbacks. So if you want to grease my palms with a lot of money, then I'm your guy.
Well, hey, you get your own jet. I don't know if you got one.
I'm tired of driving. I need. Does the governor have a plane?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
yeah, has her own jet.
That's great.
Motorcade, you'd be safe, and everything else.
Now what about? I have been to the governor's mansion on a tour. I don't remember it being in that great of condition. The one thing I will demand that if I am the governor, all state contracts for pressure washing have to go to Brandon. We'll make Brandon a multimillionaire with that deal.
Dude, you're right. They'd be knocking down his door.
Randy will be the official pressure washer of the state. Randy will be the official director of, what does Randy do here? Director of
communications.
Camera engineering.
There you go. Well, the house does have a pool. It's got it's the shore of Alabama.
I do like that. I've been kind of at the governor's house before, but never quite. I'll give it a look next time I'm down there. I'm also going to make sure that I-Man, who's a heating and air engineer, he will get the state contracts for all HVAC.
Dude, it'd take a while. I think it's probably vintage.
My goal is to make other people money.
Yes. Hey,
Brandon,
again,
we got Brandon, we got Rusty. I'll even try to give Jim a job, but I don't know what he's good at. Handsome Joe will be in charge of student lunches since he reports back on the pig every day. And by the way, Billy D, I don't know what you do, but just let me know and we'll cut you in.
Hey man, I'm game for anything. Master of all. No, what's the old saying? Master of all trades. No, good at all trades, master of none.
Exactly. Well, you got whatever job you want because the key to graft is getting in on the first level.
Dude, and look, why do you think I'm running you for governor?
Yeah, well, of course. Now, my only question is, can you be if you're going to be the governor, it really, by the way, it sounds like a boring job, okay?
Well, it's only as exciting as you make it, Paul. The old governor, the reason he left was because he bought a desk, if you remember anything like that.
Oh, I do remember. Yeah, you're talking about Bentley? Yeah, I remember him.
Dude, is this me and you talking right now?
I know what brought him down.
Right, or
that will not happen to me. I am not going to bring any shame to the state. But we'll also bring. I want to guarantee we'll bring industry to the state as well.
Well, there you go, man. Hey, I'm in Mobile. We're at the port. It's going to be the number one port in the United States.
The docks will be open.
And they are, and the tide keeps rolling. So
do you guys still have cruises out of Mobile Bay?
Say it again.
Are there still cruises taking off from Mobile?
They are, yeah. They actually just restarted, man, and we're also getting train rail back to New Orleans.
Okay, we will completely devour the state of Florida when it comes to cruise activity.
Well, we just need gambling, and then we can take it all.
Billy.
That's another one.
I've got an idea that's going to end this long battle with gambling. It's casinos. I was just in New Orleans the other day talking to Caesars. They'll be putting a casino wherever you want it. The days of Alabama being last in everything but college football and basketball are done. We'll be right back.
You're listening to the Paul Finebaum Show podcast.
Is it your computer?
We're back, and Tim is up next in Tampa. Good afternoon, Tim.
How you doing, Paul?
We're doing great. Thank you.
Happy Valentine's Day. I hope
Thank
you
you.
got great plans with your Valentine tonight. The reason why I called was actually Mark Stoops, when they were bringing up, talking about him, and I just find it ironic that they talk more about his tenure than they talk about his win-losses. And I wanted to get your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to look at it a lot of different ways, and having been there so many different times, I think I've been there every year in about the last 15 years, that he has done a really good job if you look at the total package. Now, I look at that, and I think you have to congratulate him, but you also have to look at the trend lines, because what used to be the norm is no longer, and you have to be, you can't just take a couple of years off, and he has had really some very bad years, including this year, and you have to be concerned, like what is going on? Why are so many players leaving there? I mean, they were on a run, remember, with great transfer quarterbacks, but it feels like they are struggling right now. They've had good coordinators. One is the head coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars right now, but I am concerned about the short term. And I feel like if he doesn't get it turned around quickly, he's going to start losing the fan base.
And I agree. 2 years ago, I went to the game in Louisville. It was the last game of the year, and Louisville was supposed to win that by a landslide, and he won. And I almost felt like that pretty much saved him for a couple more years.
Yeah, I'll tell you something else that has hurt him. People have forgotten about it, but after that game that you referenced, that very same night, he accepted the job at Texas A&M, only to have it pulled out from under him a couple of hours later. And I think a lot of people now are remembering back to his loyalty to the university.
I totally forgot about that. You're right. Well,
I think he
wish
would like
him well,
you to forget about it.
I appreciate you taking my call.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Let's continue with more phone calls. And Vance is up next in Georgia. Hey, Vance.
Hey, Paul. I might not have the topic perfect here because you were talking about Alabama and Auburn, I think is 1 and 2 or something of that nature.
Correct.
And we've seen some incredible games between them. But I do believe the weirdest one of all, this would be football, of course, is I believe Alabama was ranked number 1 in the country. But to have the same linebacker for Auburn block a punt
you're
twice.
talking about 1972.
It blocked the punt. The same guy, I think his name was Bill Newton.
Bill Newton. And the same guy picked
Langley,
it up, Greg Gant, I think. I think
his name was
Greg
Langley.
Gant may have been the punter, but yeah, you're absolutely right.
And to have that ball bounce so perfect into his sprinting hands and have that happen twice in one ball game, which of course produced a bumper sticker and the slogan "Punt, Bama, Punt." I think that's even weirder than the kick six. How improbable is
so
that?
here's what happened. You had Auburn and Alabama. Alabama was undefeated, ranked number 2 in the country. And you're right. Alabama was up 16 to 3, I think. Is that right? Yeah, 16 to 3.
It was amazing.
Yeah, Alabama led 16 to nothing with 10 minutes left in the game. They made it 16-3. Auburn was forced to punt, and Bill Newton blocked Greg Gant's punt. I'll tell you a story about that. And David Langner is the guy who picked it up.
Langner, okay.
Exact same play, 2 punts in a row. And I obviously was not there, but I've met all the characters that were involved in it. And I interviewed Greg Gann about, I don't know, 20 years ago, and he still didn't want to talk about it.
Well, it was just I don't think
By the way,
I've ever seen.
it cost Alabama a national championship. It was a big deal.
Oh, I don't think I've ever seen anything like that before or after. But I will remind our wonderful listeners. Oh God, how rude of me! I didn't mean it like this. That 71 year was, of course, the cover of Sports Illustrated with the Oklahoma-Nebraska matchup.
Right.
And then we had, and of course, Pat Sullivan won the next.
Pat Sullivan won the
that year.
Heisman. He told me the story once, Vance. The Heisman was given on the Thursday night before the final game. It wasn't like it is now, where it was a standalone Saturday.
And what was that guy's name from Cornell? That was Ed.
Oh yeah, Ed Marinero. Is that right?
That's it.
Yeah.
And
right.
but the bottom line to that whole story is, I mean that season is not only did Nebraska blast Alabama, but Oklahoma blasted Auburn too.
Yeah, Auburn went to the Sugar Bowl to play Oklahoma. Alabama, on the night of January 1st, for the 71 season, played possibly one of the greatest teams of all time. That was Johnny Rodgers, and lost, I think it was 38-6.
They got. That was Nebraska exacting revenge on them for all of what happened in the 60s.
Right.
And, these are, for me, they're wonderful memories. And I really want to tell you, depending on what a person's mindset is, for me, I think this has been the most fun week I've ever listened to your show. I think it has been absolutely fantastic.
Well,
and I appreciate
that. Is great.
that.
I appreciate
and I
you
want to
saying
say thank you.
Thank you, Vance.
And I hope you have a great weekend and enjoy your new home.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Vance. Appreciate you saying that. We continue with more phone calls, and let's check in with Jeff, who is up next in Pennsylvania.
Hey, Paul, how are you?
We are doing great. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, I'm up here in Pennsylvania. I had a question about where do you think Alabama is going to go in the next few years? And then I have a second question, if you don't mind.
Yeah, Jeff, I think next year is critical. This upcoming year, I should say. I believe it's important for Alabama to have a big year, or otherwise, I think it could get a little bit sideways. I think they're good enough. I think right now last year I really felt they were a playoff team going in. This year I feel like they're on the playoff cut line, which means it will come down to maybe one game that could very well determine whether they make it or not.
Yeah, and if you don't mind, a second question. I'm a West Virginia Mountaineer. Went to school there. What did you think of the Mountaineers back in 2005 through 2007 when they went 33-5?
Well, they were one of the most feared teams in the country under Rich Rodriguez, and I can't remember who mentioned it yesterday, but I remember watching that game against Pittsburgh. They were a heavy favorite, and all they had to do was win the game, and they were playing for the national championship, and they lost.
Oh, yeah, it breaks my heart to this day, man, because I really felt like we would have beaten Ohio State.
Yeah, it was to me, and I don't think people appreciate, Jeff, how great that program is and what that community means, but it is one of the great gems in college football, and I'm really glad to see Rodriguez back there, because that program is very important in college football. I mean, it's like Virginia Tech, which has been on a downward spiral lately as well. Thanks for the call. We're up against the break. Don't forget, we're an hour away from talking to Nate Oates. How about the big matchup this weekend? We got gymnastics 1 versus 2, college basketball tomorrow. You'll see it all on ESPN2 tonight.
You're listening to the Paul Finebaum Show podcast.
A couple weeks ago, Vandy beat Tennessee. I believe they were number 1 in the country at the time. And we're back to the calls here. And how about Ryan up next? Hey, Ryan.
Hey, how you doing, Paul?
We are doing well.
Well, great. Listen, I just want to tell you I am so excited about that Alabama-Auburn game. I was just thinking about it. Auburn didn't drop when they lost that game. I thought maybe Alabama would jump them, but I'm glad that they didn't because it's just going to be so exciting. And Auburn's only got 2 losses, Alabama 3. So I just wanted to tell you how excited I was about it, and I really enjoy your show very much.
Well, that means a lot, Ryan. You continue to call and listen. Thank you very, very much. Let's move along and check out Cole, who is in Kentucky. Hey, Cole.
Hey, Paul. Elizabeth's talking about those Valentine's treats earlier. You ever had any chocolate-covered grapes?
No.
There's a place in Lexington, Old Kentucky Chocolates, that does chocolate-covered grapes, and they're fabulous. Next time you come, you should get some.
Sound good.
What I wanted to talk about was this old news. I apologize for that, but did you hear about our boy Mark Pope and his tirade at Ole Miss in the locker room?
No, I have not heard that. What happened?
Well, evidently he did a little damage in the locker room and punched a locker and skinned his fist up. And, I think maybe the SEC may have tried to fine him a little bit. And it's really surprising because don't you and I agree he's one of the nicest guys around.
Yeah, I mean,
right?
he is, but Cole, I don't know what happened, but the emotion of a basketball game is pretty serious stuff. So maybe he was
I understand, but here's what I would love to have from that, Paul. I'd love to have the audio of that.
Oh, I would too.
Because it would, he doesn't use swear words. It had to sound like Sheriff Andy Taylor just berating Barney and Gomer, did it not?
That would have been funny. I love people that do not curse when they get upset and they have to try to find words to fill up the words that most of us normally would just utter out.
Absolutely. Happy Valentine's Day to you and your wife.
Thanks for calling. We appreciate that. We had a Valentine's Day guest on earlier. She was fantastic. I don't know why I'm thinking of this lady on Valentine's Day. Cheerleader is up next.
Paul, how in the world are you doing? And are you in Tuscaloosa today?
I am not in Tuscaloosa.
Okay. Paul, everybody in the world knows you're moving to Birmingham. The secret's out. And, Paul, you've got more fans than all of the SEC football teams, I do believe. And what do you think about us planning a little welcome back to Birmingham party for Paul Finebaum?
Wow. How would we go about doing that?
Well, first of all, you're going to put Elizabeth and cheerleader together.
So Elizabeth and cheerleader will be the co-chairman.
Yes, we will be the co-chairmen of the party, and it will be fun and informative. And I don't know the format yet, but Elizabeth and I can talk. I need her number.
Listen, it's been a while since I've been to a wild party. What would you propose for this great party?
Well, now, it's not going to be wild. We're not going to have a real loud band or anything like that.
Okay, let's start there with entertainment.
Okay.
Who should we have the entertainment?
Well, I hadn't thought. Tell me what kind of music do you like? We could have it.
Well, we're going to have people from all walks of life, so we don't want to monopolize it with one person.
I was thinking little country.
Well,
we could have a little
Alabama.
country,
You're right.
a little.
I don't want to ignore the most obvious.
A little country, a little top 40.
Yeah.
We could get it going. We could get a little Motown going.
Yeah.
Just to have something in the background in a little area if people want to dance. And I'm trying to think, do we want to have you broadcast the show from this party? We're going to have a big venue. Do you just want to be?
Yeah, I don't know.
Come to the party,
first of all, I don't really. It's been so. I feel somewhat awkward having a party, giving myself a party.
Well, no, Elizabeth and I are giving you the party, and ESPN is paying for it.
Oh, okay. Well, they would be delighted. I mean, we're so excited by this move. I'm sure they'll be thrilled.
Well, you know, you put Elizabeth and me on them, and we got what we want, baby.
Well, I need to hire you
We got it.
immediately.
Well, and I will be your PR person. You name it, I can do it. And I'm just thinking of a big venue, and I think it'd be cool if you were up on your studio. We had the studio set up, and the callers are going to be coming from everywhere. And when you see one, we'll put them up there.
I just thought you just mentioned somebody that had a big country career, big top 40 career. But what about Taylor Swift?
Well, it's going to be who do you want?
Yeah, I think Taylor would. I hate to ask her. I mean, I told her the last time I saw her, I am never going to impose on your celebrity.
Well, that's okay. We're not imposing. We're inviting. Yeah. If she wants to bring.
I think she would. I mean, obviously, she likes sports. She's probably going to be engaged to the football player by then, and he'll be working for ESPN. So there's that connection.
Okay, what this party is going to show to those of you that call in and don't get it about why the SEC callers call in and they're behind their teams all the time, we're going to show them what it's all about.
Well, cheerleader, give me a little bit of time on this because, as you can imagine, there's a few other things I'm trying to
that's where Elizabeth and I are going to come in, and we're going to see.
I'm afraid of letting Elizabeth anywhere near me at a party.
Okay, well I'll be her bodyguard.
I mean, you know me. I'm really somewhat of an introvert, but Elizabeth brings out the worst in me.
Well, and hey, I'll have a leash on her.
Okay.
I can have a leash on her.
I think a collar might be a better idea.
Okay, we could get her a rhinestone collar.
Before anybody gets crazy, I'm not suggesting. But
I get it, Paul. But how could I get Elizabeth's number?
We'll connect you. How about that?
Okay, sooner than later.
Hey, I hear you, cheerleader. I mean.
Okay, and listen, roll tide, baby.
Progress.
Roll tide.
Okay. I may have to intervene and put an end to that one. One guy I want at my party is the heavyweight champion of the Finebaum show, Brad from Macon.
Mr. Paul, happy Finebaum Friday. It's been a great week, and thank you and your staff for doing it. And you've had a lot of great people on the show this week and a lot of good calls.
Thank you, Brad.
But, hey, man, can I get our resident psycho fixed? He's been banging me for the last 2 days. You don't mind, do you?
No, not at all.
John from St. Louis. Look, let's go over your dossier real quick. Your profile on the Finebaum show is of a president that you don't even know his damn name. You want to change Paul's intro music to ABBA. You thought I forgot about that? Only a freak like you would want something like that.
What a terrible group.
Not even American. He don't even support American. He's talking about that group. Another thing is your friendly phoner thing with Jim.
Walking into the party singing Dancing Queen?
Dude, I mean, if I was giving a party and somebody came into my house playing Dancing Queen, I would knock them out.
No, they wouldn't last. That song will not be played at the party.
No, it can't be played. It's not on the preferred list. But that crazy, awkward friendly phoner you had with Jim, you can't keep up with Jim, and you look like a jackass even trying to be with Jim on the same line when y'all are talking. You come across as an idiot, dude. Big idiot. Then you come on to space. Go ahead, Paul.
Hey, I tell you who won't be invited to the party?
Who would that be?
Ari Wasserman.
Ari Wasserman said himself when he was out, when you had Andy and Ari in Texas before the Ohio State Texas.
Oh yeah, right.
He freely admitted that he don't have too many friends. People don't like him.
No, and it's hard to believe that people don't like him with his condescending attitude the other day.
I mean, dude, he's one of those people that thinks he knows everything. Oh, yeah. He don't respect what other people have to say.
And the great thing is, Brad, you showed him how little he knows.
Paul. I know for one thing. I did show him that we ain't gonna have tea and cookies at the Yale Club.
No.
We did teach him. You come on the Paul Finebaum show, you better be locked and loaded, because let me tell you something. People on this show will take it to you. And but you know,
I think Brad, you got into his head.
I don't know what he was thinking, Paul. I really don't. And I thought it was going to be. He thought it was going to be some kind of genuine, like a gentleman
debate. You see, college debate class, where you have a bunch of bow-tied professors, flicking the dandruff off their tweed jacket, trying to determine who had the better argument on global warming.
He looks like the guy that when he takes a drink of tea, he throws his pinky out.
Yeah,
he throws his pinky out when he tips his glass up.
Whether Beethoven is more listenable than Mozart or something.
Well, I'll tell you something, man. I don't. You gave me the win, and that's good enough for me.
Brad, I didn't give you anything. You earned it.
You know what I'm saying.
You took it to him, and he sat there and laughed as if you were some Lily Putin who doesn't know anything. Well, you showed him, and you're the hero of the week. Thank you, Brad. We're back with more after this.
You're listening to the Paul Finebaum Show podcast.
Friday Night Heights coming up here in just a few minutes. Arkansas and Georgia. Top matchup there. And how about Auburn going to Florida in the nightcap? Johnny is up next. Hello, Johnny.
Hey, Paul. Thanks for taking my call. Hello?
Hello, Johnny.
Hey, I said happy Friday and happy Valentine's Day, and proud you had Elizabeth on. Man, she is something else. She is a true, her and cheerleader. If you had them at a party, that would be a fun event to go to. But earlier you were talking about the Alabama and Auburn, the Bama punt. They've made 45 records. I saw one time of that, re-announcing that. That was just one of the most unreal things I guess I've ever seen happen. But back to the Judge John, he was a preacher, and you made him cuss the other day. Do you feel a little bit bad about that?
Well, I felt better that he did something real versus all the fake blather that he normally lets us hear.
I liked it when he was trying to get support for his idea of the agent type thing, and he said Johnny B and William from Maryville. The next day it was like Johnny B and I Man, and I'm like, that has to be, he cannot be a good judge, because if he thinks I'm the voice of reason on anything, it shows he probably made a lot of mistakes as a judge. And then I was going to talk about that song Dancing Queen. That needs to be our new name for Ari Wasserman, because he danced. Brad would ask him something, and he'd just dance all around it. So from now on, when we have Wasserman, he's the dancing queen. And that's all I got for today. Thanks for taking my call. Y'all have a good weekend.
Thank you. Jeff is up next in Ohio.
What's going on, Paul?
Jeff.
Hey, a couple hours ago, it's sure good your break came up and threw out a life preserver to the judge down in South Carolina, man. He was struggling so thankfully he got cut off by the break. But I heard the last caller talking about Brad and Ari. I thought Brad did pretty well, but I scored that about a 7th-round TKO, and I'll tell you why, Paul. Ari came in, and a lot of Brad definitely couldn't, and all of your listeners from the SEC fan base surely can't comprehend it. But where Ari won with the TKO, when he was trying to explain that these SEC teams had a built-in one-loss benefit compared to an Indiana, but where they blew it was with that third loss for a 2-loss differential with Indiana. You can't bump a team up. And that's where, Paul, you're to blame, and where Ari was coming down on you. you don't come out and explain it to your base because you don't want to upset them that was the case. And you know you can't jump with 2-loss differential over a team from a power conference. I mean, don't you think that's where Ari's complaint really was?
To this day, Jeff, I don't know what Ari was upset about.
Well, then answer my question. How do you explain?
Well, first of all, I don't think you can just automatically come up with a scale that there's a 2-game differential because, quite frankly, what Ole Miss and Georgia and Alabama and South Carolina, their schedule was completely different than the truly embarrassing schedule of Indiana University.
Okay, then what about the embarrassing losses of Ole Miss to Kentucky? And I think they lost to 3 unranked teams. And Bama losing to Vanderbilt and a horrible Oklahoma team got blasted at Oklahoma.
You're completely right about that, but both those schools had significant wins. And I always feel more comfortable knowing that my school that gets into the playoffs has actually accomplished something as opposed to didn't accomplish anything. And you're not going to hear me alibi Ole Miss losing to Kentucky or Alabama losing to Oklahoma, but Ole Miss still beat Georgia. Alabama beat Georgia, which was a significantly good team throughout most of the season.
Well, you or all your listeners can say what they want, but I guarantee you, no year is a team going to leapfrog
you're
somebody.
Falling into the Ari Wasserman trap where
I'm not.
You're trying to say the Big Ten and the SEC are equal. Well, they're at some places
No,
they
I did not say that, Paul.
I just said
wrong.
But the fact that
Wrong.
Indiana played 3 high school teams in the non-conference, I think should be held against them.
Hey, why don't you look at Ole Miss's non-conference schedule? What's their toughest opponent? Furman. So take that. You know what I'm saying?
They actually played a Power 5
You're just speaking
team,
to your
Jeff.
base, Paul, like you normally do. You talk to your base because you don't want to be run down by your callers.
Jeff, I don't need to impress my base. They know when we say something on this show, it's based in truth.
That's the funniest thing I've ever heard right there.
Yeah, well, you've been listening to Ohio State radio too long.